Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Let's see.
Okay, I can hear you now, brother.
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes,
Good.
sir. There you go.
Good.
I
All
can hear you
right.
now.
All right. Good. 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 All right.
Yes. Give me 1 second there, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Put some eye drops in.
Oh, I thought you was crying. I thought you was having a moment.
Oh, brother.
I thought you was having a moment there.
I was having a moment.
Let me see how we can do this. Where's both of us on here? There we go.
All right, so yeah, get everything ready here real quick, and then we're gonna go ahead and take off in a minute. Make sure we're good. We got everything good. Yes. Let me get all this together here. All right, all right, all right, all right. We're gonna go live in a minute here.
Okay. So we're gonna just dive straight. Well, yeah, just follow your lead.
Yeah, I'm gonna open up and thank everybody and all that good stuff, and then do a little introduction, and I'll bring you in, and then we'll just dive right into it, and yeah, just kind of follow my lead, and we're gonna go with it and flow with it, and you know.
Yeah, I jotted some stuff down that I'm gonna hit on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, we're gonna go live on Facebook, so give me a moment, okay? Let
Mm-hmm.
me give me 1 second. All right, all right. We are live on Facebook.
All right. Hello, Facebook.
Yeah, we're in the house.
All right. Good.
Yes, we are here. Thank God. Thank God. All right, all right, all right. Get my stuff together here. We are live on Facebook. Everybody, hello. So glad that you're here with us on this evening. We got a doozy for you tonight. We got something real good. We got something that we're going to talk about, something that should have been talked about. And we're going to dive into some things that's going to be very informative, some things that's going to truly be something that's going to bring in some level of information and some things that I believe is pertinent to what's some of the things that's going on in life right now. And we're going to be going, we're on live on Facebook, and then we're going to shoot over here to YouTube as well. We're going to do live on YouTube. So hopefully I'm on there as well. But we're going to have a good one tonight. So thank everyone for joining in with us. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. We're ready to go to work here. So tonight, here's what we're talking about. Here's what we're dealing with on this evening. This evening, we're going to be talking about dealing with domestic violence. We're going to be hidden on this topic. We're going to be talking about this subject because it is a subject that's definitely important, something that we need to talk about, something that people need to come into a higher level of understanding, I believe. For so many years, this topic has been, kind of swept under the rug. Nobody seems to want to talk about it. I shouldn't say nobody, but there's not much conversation had on it. And one thing that I believe that we need to understand is it's important to talk about these things and expose these things so we can bring a level of information, revelation, and hopefully that can help people that's going through this. Before we go any further, let me go ahead and read my disclaimer. The views expressed on a Word of Encouragement online show, Gary Adams and his guests, does not reflect the views of Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube. So in other words, don't hold them liable for what we say. All right.
That's right.
We're talking and we're going to just bring some information out that hopefully, like I said, is going to help some people. So I want to dive into this here. Dr. Nichols, we're so glad. Thank you for being here with us. I'm glad that you're able to join us. Let me just kind of let you know, I'll tell you a little bit about Dr. Nichols. Dr. Nichols, he is the CEO at True Unity Consultants. He also does mentoring. He holds a degree, a master's degree in psychology. This brother, he studied theology. This is a real great man. He's a friend of mine. We have some great conversations and we talk. He's out of Atlanta, Georgia, out in the GA. GA, you ought to stand up. You boys in the house. So we truly have a good time. I love talking with this brother because he's real. He's authentic. And he tells it like it is, and he doesn't hold any shorts, and he doesn't cut anything. He just tells it like it is, and he is helping a lot of people. He's out there in GA mentoring young people and doing some really wonderful things. So I'm blessed to have him. I'm privileged to have him on the show with us because I believe that he definitely has a voice, and he definitely has some know-it-all, if you will, to speak on this subject of domestic violence. Let me start off by telling a story, and it's a brief story, and we're gonna dive in it right after this here. I remember when I was a pastor, and I had at this particular time I had been a pastor for probably about maybe 3 years, 2 to 3 years, and I was sitting at my office at the church, and all of a sudden we had a young lady that was our administrator at the church. She buzzed into my office and she said, "You have a phone call." And the individual on the phone seems to be a little distraught. And so it piqued my interest. I said, well, who could this be? So anyway, I chimed in on the phone and I spoke, and all of a sudden there was a young lady on the phone. There was a lady, she was crying. She was saying, hey, Pastor Gary, I really need to talk to you. And this is, confidential. And I can tell, I can feel the hurt in her voice as she was talking to me. And I can sense there's something, of course, it was really, really bad. And then she began to tell me who it was because I did not recognize the voice. And immediately when she said who she was, it caught me because I had just spoke at their church a week prior to that. And she told me, she said, I'm calling because I need to talk to somebody. I've been holding something in for years. And when you came to our church, I felt that you were someone that I could trust and someone I can talk to. And I want to let you know that I am going, and I have been going through domestic violence. I've been abused by my husband for many of years, and I'm done. I'm over it, and I'm ready to. I got to do something. I got to get away from this situation. Now, her husband was a pastor. They had this church. Like I said, I had spoke at the church the prior week. So I said, what can we do? What can we do? So I brought in our admin. I said, hey, we need to do something. We need to, help out. We need to do whatever we need to do. She said, well, the lady is crying. She says, I have family. I've already contacted them, but they're out of town. I have no money. I don't have anything. And he controls everything. And I said, okay, well, we'll help you. Long story short, we helped her. We got her to a safe place. And the sad thing about this is when we got her to a safe place and she stood up for herself. And of course, I spoke to the husband, and he had his reasoning as to why things was done and why he did what he did. And of course, and I can't believe he actually tried to throw some scripture up at me as he expressed his actions. So me and my immature self at the time, I told him, I said, if that was my sister, my daughter, my mother, we would have had more than one issue. But the reality is they ended up kicking her out of the organization, protecting him, and allowing him to remain, and discredited her in such an awful way. So we got money together. We gave her money. We got her ticket. We got her on the plane and got her, where she needed to go. And Dr. Nichols, I'm telling this story because this is domestic violence is not something that only happens in what we deem as dysfunctional homes in certain areas based upon certain economic levels. The reality, it happens in the church, it happens out of the church, it happens in the suburbs, it happens out in the hood, it happens with people that's living in $5 million houses and people that's living in $15 motels. It happens all over. And so this is definitely something that we need to discuss. So Dr. Nichols, I'm gonna have you jump on in. Won't you go ahead and just kind of give us an intro of what's that, don't give it all to us, but just give us a little intro of what you're sensing and what you want to talk about relating to this issue of domestic violence.
Well, Pastor Gary, sometimes I think that
you can call me Gary.
Okay. Well, I think that sometimes people tend to cover these things up because of the fact that you have leaders that are in positions that are misusing their power, number one. Mm-hmm. And then number two, you have people that are actually protecting those leaders instead of confronting those leaders. Mm. And I think a lot of people tend, because as a therapist, and when I see people come into the office, with the domestic violence issues, the first thing that everyone continues to say is the exact same thing. I don't have anywhere to go. Mm-hmm. Or he controls everything.
Yes.
And in certain cases, she controls everything. So it's not just a female thing.
Yes.
And as I continue to counsel people in that particular area, my heart gets real heavy sometimes. I'm gonna be very honest with you. And the reason being is because you see so much going on in our society, but then you see the people all on television, they looking the part, they looking like they got it all together, but behind closed doors,
yes,
is where the action really happens. And that's when the true identity of the person comes out.
Yes.
And I think that we sweep it so much under the rug. And we don't want to talk about it. And the reason we don't want to talk about it is because we don't want to, quote unquote, expose the bishop, expose the pastor, the CEO, or whomever. But sometimes exposure can help you help yourself.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, sometimes exposure can help you help yourself. But see, if people don't identify things that are going wrong in a person's life, you cannot say that you love that person, because if you love a person, you correct them out of love.
Yeah.
You cannot draw a person truly without love, number one. But if you're really wanting to help someone, when you tell them the truth will what? Make them free and set them free.
Yes.
But see, a lot of people are bound because of a lie that people continue to let them live over the years, and it becomes a cycle,
Yes. Yes.
a repetitive one.
Yes, and that is so true. You know, when when we talk about domestic violence, it is something of course, I like to read. I like to do my little research on things, and domestic violence is something that I believe that many people have been exposed to on some level, whether it be a child and you watched your mom and dad go at it, or if you were a family member, or you yourself was involved in it. But domestic violence is the willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and or other abusive behavior as part of I love this part, systematic pattern of power and control perpetrated by one intimate partner against another. It includes physical violence, sexual violence, threats, and emotional psychological abuse. This here it's about, I love the part, it says the systematic, the control. And the field that I work in, we see this a lot. We see this. In fact, domestic violence is one of the most dangerous calls in law enforcement that we can arrive on, because it is a very hostile, a very hot environment that violence is already there. So by the time we show up, anything can pop off at any moment. And there have been many cases where we've seen people injured and even up to being killed from a domestic violent situation. And when we talk about this issue, it is one that I believe it should be the top of discussion, because when you look at the statistics are alarming as it relates to how many people, and I know you said earlier that men experience this too, but 85% of domestic violence is the victim is the female, it's the woman. And so, if you're out there, brothers, and if you've gone through this and you've been a victim, we're not trying to definitely exclude you. We're not, but we're talking tonight about the percentages. And, 1 in 3 women have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 3. That's 1, 2, you. 1, 2, you. That when you think about that, that's alarming that 1 in 3 women has gone through this. So, Dr. Nichols, we're going to go ahead and jump into these questions. And I want you to speak on these things. In your opinion, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit, why do you believe domestic violence is oftentimes swept under the rug and a topic that is oftentimes avoided?
Well, it's avoided because no one actually wants to take actions behind the domestic violence. So in other words, now when someone brings it to you, now you got to act on it.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people will say, call me if you need me.
Yes, yes.
I'm always a phone call away. See, those things sound good until it's actually time to put them into effect.
Yes, sir.
So if someone calls you and say, my eyes bloody, my nose is bloody, my ribs, cracked, I'm walking down the street, and the first thing you say to the person is, what did you do? See, a lot of people don't understand when people ask a woman, what did you do, as though that she deserves that. See, that's a psychological thing that's going on with them. So that's something that they are accustomed to. So therefore, they're not asking, are you okay?
Yes.
I'm on my way. They're asking, what did you do? Because see, it's becoming so normal for people to just accept domestic violence to be a part of a relationship where people go through things. And see, when I hear a person say people go through things, yes, not through a wall. You can go through things, not through a wall.
Yeah.
Going through things, meaning that, yes, you may argue, yes, you may disagree, but for you to get to a point for you to physically think that you're going to cause bodily harm to me and expect me to still stay there, then you definitely have a mental disorder that we're going to put in order because of the simple fact, one call, that's all. When you call the police and when they come, don't try to defend the perpetrator.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people go wrong because, and when you continue to go out on these calls and that person is still there, you really don't take them serious until they say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to press charges.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will go back and drop the charges because mentally the person has them so consumed and
Yes.
so wrapped. So now nobody else can get in. And sometimes people will isolate you from your loved ones. And see, this is another thing that a lot of women don't understand either. When a man tries to isolate you from your family, and especially from your father, that's a red sign, that's a red flag right there. And the reason that I say that is because I see it constantly in this office every single week. And I'm listening, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, does she not see this? And does he not see what he's doing? So when I'm talking with both of them, my wife and I, when we're talking to both of them, I call I call people out on this stuff. In other words, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to be, oh, well, what would Jesus do? I don't care about all that. Right now, I know what you just did, and I know that this is what we're going to deal with. We're not quoting scriptures up in here.
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with the main issue. He just beat you down, and you sitting up here, got makeup on, and you trying to justify and say, well, I made him mad. No, 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 no. What we're not going to do is we're not going to accept someone else's feelings or someone else's behavior as our own if we don't own it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't own something that's not yours. And I
Yes.
think a lot of people own, well, when I was talking back, you are an adult. You're supposed to talk backwards and forwards. You're not a kid.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people go into relationships because of what they have been taught over the years. Just do what the man say. If he paying the bills, he no 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 no. It doesn't matter. A woman can pay bills too. It doesn't matter about that. You have to get to a point where you have self-esteem about yourself. No one should ever have to give you a compliment every time you walk through the door.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't come from you first, so you teach to treat. You teach people how to treat you. You don't let people teach you how they're going to treat you. And I think that sometimes people tend to fall into the trap of because someone tell them that they look good, then they can uh, uh, go to beating them
Mm-hmm.
because they're saying, "Well, I'm telling you, I'm building you up, and this is how you repay me."
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have to repay someone who really loves you and they're trying to help you get to the next level. But the reason people never take any action is because they don't want to be involved. They say, well, you know what, that's between them. No,
Yeah.
it's not. No, it's not between just them. Because if they die, then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I wish I could have done something. You could have.
Mm-hmm.
You could have talked to the person. And sometimes it is hard. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes it is extremely hard to talk to a female who's quote unquote in love with an abuser
Mm-hmm.
because she sees that as her contact of love. Well, when he hits me, and I heard a woman say this, if a man doesn't hit you, he doesn't love
Love
you.
you. Yeah.
Well, hate me then, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
need that. Well, hate me. I don't need that type of love
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, that's not love. And I think
Yeah.
people are searching for this love where it is no arguments, no disagreements. That's not reality. But what is reality is you don't have to get hit to be loved. You don't have to get punched to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to throw someone through a wall to be heard. But those things continue to happen because no one wants to take action with the person and say, you know what, I'm going to guide you. No one wants to grab the person's hand and say, this is not okay.
Yeah.
This is not normal. I don't care what his status is or what her status is. This is not
Not
okay.
normal. Yeah. Something you said that about when a man or when an abuser, let's just call it like that, when an abuser tries to isolate, and oftentimes we see certain red flags that exist when somebody does something. And I often say whenever there's isolation, intimidation, manipulation, and domination, that is, definitely an unhealthy place to be with an
Yes,
individual that feels like they
yes,
have to be that much in control of another person's life. Think about this. With your own life, you already got enough to deal with just with you, let alone trying to control and trying to deal with and manipulate somebody else. And so I want to talk to those out there that will view this and that's viewing this right now. If you fall in a relationship and any of those things are manifesting themselves, you need to really check that, because it's not good to be in a relationship where you're being manipulated, where you're being dominated, where you're being, isolated, and you can't talk to your family. And like you said, anytime a man steps in and tries to isolate or keep that woman from everybody else, their family, their best friend, and especially their father, there's a problem right there. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is something that I think we people don't really realize, that oftentimes there are red flags when things happen. When things pop off, when things break off, there are certain red flags, and sometimes love, being blinded by love, what we think is love. And
Right.
love is not you beating somebody. Love is not you controlling somebody. Love is not choking someone. Love, that's not love. By no means is that love. I think the problem is sometimes is that for some people, it's kind of like when you raise children and kids, kids love attention. And when a child does well, you say nothing to that child. But when a child does bad, you're always on them. You're always on them. So that child gets used to, well, at least I get attention, even though it's negative attention. So when they begin to equate my attention when I do bad behavior. And so they connect the two. Well, sometimes I believe that women can go through that, unfortunately, because of their experience, because of what the environment in which they was raised. And all of a sudden, now you have this mindset is, like you said, well, I know he slapped me. I know he choked me. I know he pushed me. It wasn't that hard, but oh my, he really loves me. That's not love. And so, in order for this thing to be dealt with, we got to begin to identify what true love is and what is a healthy relationship. And I love what you said about how, when you're married and when you're with someone, don't matter if you're dating them, boyfriend, girlfriend, you should be able to speak for yourself. You should be able to express yourself and not feel like if I say something, the movie that rings in my mind, and I know everybody had to see this movie, The Color Purple. The Color Purple, when Harpo, and had Whoopi all, just under control and wouldn't let her do anything and all of this. And when I think about abuse, I think about that in my mind, how a woman can feel so trapped, how she can feel so isolated, so manipulated to think that this is what love looks like. In reality, that's not love at all.
And another thing to add to that is when people feel as though that everybody else has turned their back on them because they've continued to stay with that person.
Yeah.
So therefore, they don't feel like it's an out. But some people will still be by your side no matter what. And they'll say, you know what, when you're truly ready, I'm going to be here.
Yes.
But the going backwards and forwards, that's where the problem comes in. And that's when people really can't take you serious, when you are constantly going back. Well, he said that he was sorry and, he wouldn't do it again. So he said there were 5 other times. And so you believed him then too, right? So what makes number 6 so special now?
Right.
And then, of course, people try to get all prophetic. What a number 6 represent? No, not the butt whooping. That's what it represents. Let's not play these games. Let's not quote these scriptures and all of that. Because at the end of the day, I believe that people continue to stay in those dysfunctional relationships because, and a lot of people, believe it or not, a lot of people never experienced that coming up as a child. They never experienced that. However, they're trying to be someone that they're not.
Right.
You can be with a person and the person wants to change you to be what they want you to be. And that's misidentity right there. And so here's my motto: be one with yourself before being one with someone else. You can never be one with another person. If you don't know your own identity, there's no need of you thinking that you're going to be one, quote unquote, with someone else. Even if you are married, you are still an individual person.
Yes.
You still have your own social life. You don't have to be with your spouse 24/7. That is dangerous because now if something happens, this person can shut everybody else off just for you. That's another way that people isolate themselves. Well, I just want to do everything with you, and I don't want you to be over there. I just love you. And see, some people think that that's love. That's control.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. That's
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
And what they do is they start out doing small things. It's a small push here. It's a small choke
Yeah.
here, as they say. Well, he choked me a little bit. What is a little choke? 3 fingers or five? Which one is it? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
a choke is a choke.
Right.
Let's not try to minimize it, because see, the small things are the things that continue to grow over the years. And a lot of people don't get root of those things until it's too late. And when they can't get root of it, then everybody else got to come in and try to pull you away, just like with what they did in The Color Purple,
Yeah. Yeah.
when they was pulling them out, some don't leave me or whatever. That's what they're saying. To the men, like, well, I don't want to leave him. He's not gonna survive without me. Well, he shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't have to survive without you. What he needs to do is survive on his own and stop thinking that you're actually there helping him.
Right.
You're not. You're hindering yourself. And a lot of people put themselves on the back burner, men and women alike, put themselves on the back burner. And the reason the number that you called out earlier, the 85%, is so high, because women will tell, men will sit back and just continue to take it. I'm gonna give you an example. Right before I got on with you today,
Mm-hmm.
I received a phone call, and it was from a client of mine, and he was very, he was distraught, and I was behind it as well. Um, the male companion that his mother was dating, they got into it the other day, and he jumped on the car, whatever. But she just kept driving basically, and he fell off and he hit his head, and he died right before I got on air with you. But that's been going on for years. That was nothing that just started. That has been going on for years. So it's not just the women.
Yeah.
But the men would not say anything out of embarrassment.
Pride. Yeah.
Out of thinking that, man, if I say that, they're gonna think that I'm weak.
Mm-hmm.
You can be weak and still be alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's not continue to have the continued cycle,
Yes.
continuing to go over and over and over. Sometimes we have to speak even when others can't.
Yes.
We have to speak for them.
Yes, that's good. That's good, Doc. And one of the things that as I'm listening to you, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I our prayers go out to that family, because they're going to need a lot of that. And I pray, I hope that God can use you in a way, not just your professional counseling ability, but a way to help them through this, because they're going to go through a lot of ups and downs. And when we talk about how the things that we hear, the things that's embedded in our mind as it relates to this issue. And I remember going to talk to someone that was going through this situation, and I pulled the man aside, and I said, "Man, what's up with you, man? What's going on?" And God is my witness. He looked me dead in the eyes without pause, and he said, "My daddy taught me that every once in a while a woman needs to be put in her place." And I looked at him. I said, that type of thinking will land you on a 5x7. Ice Cube said, with 3 hots and a cot, quickly. Yeah. And if not, 6 feet deep, because you mess with the wrong one. And the sad reality is the mindset that so many people possess as it relates to this. Now we're going to dive right in it, because, one of the things that one of the concerns that I have, and like I said, I was a pastor for 21 years. I'm retired. I'm enjoying my new profession, if you will, and I'm enjoying that. I love it when God switches plans and don't tell us about it. I just love when he do it.
Yep.
But one of the things that I believe is that if we don't change the mindset, and something that I read is that domestic violence is prevalent in every community and affects all people regardless of age, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. Physical violence is often accompanied by emotional abuse, controlling behavior as part of a much larger systematic pattern of dominance. So, Dr. Nichols, do you think that this whole domestic violence thing is not just about the violent act, but is the root of it dominating somebody, controlling somebody, and being that I'm the man. I often say, if you got to stand up in your house and say you the man, you ain't the man.
And that goes to your number two when you said, why do people stay?
Yeah.
Am I jumping the gun?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Dive right in it.
Okay. When habitual patterns, which turns into habitual behaviors.
Right.
So mentally,
yeah.
what you said earlier about what the young man said that his father told him, a habitual pattern turns into a habitual actions, which could be detrimental or it could be beneficial. Let me explain. If you have a habitual pattern in your family where men took care of responsibility, men respected their wives, men raised their children, men were present, they prayed for their kids, they provided for their kids, that habitual action or that habitual pattern can be a beneficial pattern.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, the negative habitual pattern could be where you saw mom and dad fighting, you saw grandmama and granddaddy fighting, you saw sister and brothers fighting, or you saw your sister and her husband fighting, or your brother and his wife fighting. So you think this is normal until you run up on the right person, and when they lay you out, and when they say this pattern is going to be disrupted today.
Yes. I see.
Today is the day. Today is the day we're going to shift this thing. And sometimes it's a shift that takes place. I was watching something right before I got up here to the office. My daughter and wife was watching something, and this king was talking to the queen, and she was saying something. She was in a disagreement with him, and he hauled off and slapped her, and blood was coming out of her mouth. And she jumped up, and she started swinging, and she broke his jaw, whatever. And she says, "I'm a princess, don't get it twisted." And she pulled the ring off, slammed it on the ground. She said, "My daddy already told me who I was." She said, "It's over." Now this was a queen that beat a king down because the king thought, again, because of his title, that he was entitled to treat her that way.
Yeah.
But see, she stood up. But the $1 million question to me is, how many women are willing to take a stance against that and be able to say, you know what, if he go to jail, he goes to jail. Don't come saying, well, my baby's going to be raised without a father. Here's the thing. This is my motto. I'd rather a child come from a broken home than to stay in a broken home and continue to be broken and keep that pattern going.
Yeah, that's good.
It doesn't matter if he's not there. Matter of fact, he doesn't need to be there. Or if it's the woman fighting and cutting him up, she doesn't need to be there, because a kid doesn't need to see that, because, see, a kid is going to actually look at what you're doing versus what you're saying to do.
Yes.
Your actions speak so loud a person can't hear a word you say. So I always tell my kids the same thing. You know, your actions speak so loud I can't hear nothing you say. You say this, but your actions are saying something different. It's the same way in a relationship between a husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. It's the same exact thing. If you keep allowing someone to put their hands on you, when are you going to take accountability? Now I'm going to flip this here. When are you going to take accountability of yourself? Why are you continuing to allow this here? Now it's time for you to get some help, because there's something not right upstairs as well. You can't sit here and blame him for everything, because you know what? A person would do only what you allow.
That's good.
A person will only do what you allow. If you keep allowing this here, and that's where the pattern comes in. That's where the habitual pattern comes in. And guess what? It's almost like a movie reel. It's almost like a movie reel. It's like, okay, here we go again. Let's rewind this here. And every day, let's rewind this here. And I can give you my own personal testimony. I grew up in a domestic violence household as well. Every weekend, I knew my dad was getting ready to fight my mom. And at the end of the day, I saw that as a child. But I made a conscious decision. I made a choice. So therefore, I don't believe in generational curses. I don't care what anybody says. I believe in generational cycles that can be broken, because there are no curses. Because I do believe what you do depends upon how you think.
Mm.
It has nothing to do with, oh, well, it's a curse in our family. Everybody fight. Well, somebody's not going to fight today because you're not going to fight me. What
Yeah.
we're not going to do, we're
Mm.
not going to keep on trying to justify the ignorant. We're not going to continue to do that. And what we will do is, if we're going to be together, we're going to break this cycle. Because no, there's not a generation of curse of fights. No,
Mm.
you're not going to hit me. I'm not going to hit you. I broke that in
Mm.
our family. And the
Yes.
reason that I broke that is because God Himself had to reveal to me at the age of 12, this is not normal.
Yeah.
Your siblings are going outside, out back, waiting till it's over. And you're in here watching this, trying to separate them. And you're being pushed to the side and you're still trying to go because in your heart, you know that this is not normal at 12. And
Yes.
I kept 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And when 17 hit,
Mm.
it would, no, we're not doing this here today.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah.
And that's when I physically got into it with my dad. And I never disrespected my dad, never in my life. But a person can only take so much. If you've
Yeah.
been seeing this here for years,
Mm-hmm.
you will eventually explode. And I think that some women, the reason why they do explode the way that they do when they say snap, then just show this on, it's called snap.
Yeah. Yes.
When people finally snap, because it's like, you know what, I've been holding this in for so long, and tonight you coming in here with this here, this is not going to end well.
Mm.
And now all of a sudden, you have someone on television saying, well, yeah, I stabbed him 27 times, and they was like, oh, that's an overkill. But where were the people before this happened? When
Mm.
he was beating her and almost killing her,
Mm.
where were you then? Where were the people that wanted to um, that's coming into the case now because it's now he's dead. But did anybody do any preventative measures? And I think a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
Before you jump into a relationship, you need to know the person,
Mm.
not because they tell you something. You need to know the person's background. You need to know their history. You need to know their temperament. And that's what people don't look for.
Mm-hmm.
They look for, oh, well, he got money. Oh, she look good. She bad. I give her 2 or 10 or whatever they give her. It doesn't matter how much you give them. At the end of the day, if you don't do your due diligence now,
Mm.
you will pay for them later. It's
Mm.
best to go ahead and get it out the way in the beginning. The signs are there. You just ignoring them.
Mm. Wow, that's good. That's good. You know, thank you for sharing and being transparent with your experience growing up and witnessing that and seeing that, because oftentimes I hear that we talk about that $1 million question. Well, uh, why does she stay? Why does the victim stay? Why do they remain in that relationship? And there's much to be said about that. But one of the things that you said is action. Man, hey, I'm here for you. And if that person is going through and if that person is experiencing that, are you really going to be there for that person so that you can say, hey, let's get you into a safe place so that you're not a victim any longer, so we can help you progress on and move past this so that you're not continuing that, as you stated, that cycle that is causing them to be victimized over and over again. And certainly I do believe in rehabilitation. I do believe in deliverance. I do believe in all of that. But at the same time, let me just say this to someone that's out there that may be going through this. You don't have to stay there and continue to get beat while he is working on his rehabilitation and his deliverance. That's not a prerequisite for deliverance or rehabilitation. And sometimes I believe that people will remain just because they're comfortable. And you alluded to it earlier. You said that some people don't have a place to go, and the family gossip becomes, I just can't believe that she's still with him, and man, I mean, look at he beating her, and but you got an extra room at the house that you can bring her into. You can help her out. You can do things. So I like how you said about the action. What are we doing? So that $1 million question.
Let me say this here. And you also have to be careful yourself
Mm-hmm.
that you don't become the shield for someone, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to fight their battles, and
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks later they go right back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get stabbed in the process, or they jumping on you. Now leave him alone.
Yes.
I've seen that.
Yes.
Now, there's only one time, and hear me clear, there's only one time that you get to call me to say that you're going to leave.
Yeah.
And I come, and I've done this before, and I come there and talk to him and tell him that you're leaving. And you say, well, he done calm down now. When I leave, I'm not returning.
Mm.
The next time you call, I'm gonna call them folks. I'm gonna call Gary and them. Let
Yeah.
Gary and them go over there. Let Gary and them handle that. Because see, when I came the first time, I came to remove you.
Mm.
You didn't want to move. You said he's calmed down. But I think also what I teach people is this here: if a person needs to be rehabilitated, and you see that it's not going to work for you all in the
Mm-hmm.
relationship,
Mm-hmm.
let that person be rehabilitated, not for you, but for themselves and for the next person, and you move on.
Yes. Yes.
See, I am okay with people getting a divorce because at the end of the day, you don't have to stay in a position just because someone said, well, the Bible said, well, you can quote all you want to, you're not getting beat or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So at the end of the day, I think that a lot of people don't want to leave because of the pressure that they're getting from the religious groups.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
why
glad
you
you,
need to learn.
Doctor. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's jump into that because that's a very, very, because one of my concerns is that I wonder how many churches have something in
Plenty,
place where they can help those that are going through. I wonder how many,
not many.
here's the interesting fact. You said this. There are so many people that believe you shouldn't leave a person that's abusing you, and they use this whole pray and stay mindset. Just pray and stay, believe God, and we touched on that a little bit, and go and speak on that pray and stay mentality in the church. Are they in a position, or do they have things in place? Is that a
No.
priority to have something in place to help and rescue people that's going
Uh,
through this?
there may be some churches, but it's very few. And the reason that I say that is because they don't want that to be a stigma for the church. They don't
Mm,
want people to know that, oh, we got people here being beat or whatever. No, we just praying and we laying hands on people. They're being delivered and all of this here. But at the end
right.
of the day, I don't think that people should stay in there. And I'm one that would tell you that, Pastor, also, I'm gonna tell you this right here. I do believe in people divorcing. I do believe in people getting the necessary help that they need. And if you can't be together, it's okay. It's all right to leave. It's okay to leave. I don't care what no bishop, apostle, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can quote all you want to. I'm telling you this here as a pastor, 21 years.
Mm,
I'm straight up with you. I am okay with people leaving to save their lives. I am
mm,
okay with that. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, God told me to tell you to stay and no, to pray and stay. That's not God. That's religion talking.
yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
God. Spirituality will tell you, you know what? You deserve to be loved and you
Mm,
deserve to be loved by you because God loves you enough to say, it's okay to leave. God did not put you in a position to say, you got to stay there and get beat. Just pray to me though.
mm,
Because I mean, you stay right there. Just pray.
yeah.
And then you have a lot of women that say, "Well, girl, he paying all the bills." Well, you can pay your own bills.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're saying, "Well, I got a prayer group coming to the house while he's out. Me and the women, we praying, and we putting oil in his shoes and on his pillow. He gonna slide right off the pillow and beat you down. Stop, get away, move.
Yes.
Stop trying to." And every pastor that's out there, please hear me clearly. It's not your job to try to get someone to stay somewhere where they almost getting killed because you want to act like you doing something so big, like you just tell them to myself, well, I'm trusting God with you. I'm
Mm,
believing in God with you. Well, you take some of them punches in. How about you
hmm.
take all of them? And I'm gonna believe in God. When you get hit, you gonna understand what I've gone through.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I don't believe in it. And there are very few churches, honestly, there are very few churches that have something in place like that because you know why? They don't talk about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
They never deal with that. And a lot of that comes from the pulpit of saying, well, you know what? No, that's going to make me look bad, like I'm a weak pastor. No, it makes you look like a strong pastor.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're calling stuff out, it makes you look like a strong man that says enough is enough. No, we're not going to let women get beat. We're not
Yes.
going to let men get beat. And we're not going to let kids think that this is normal.
Yes.
because it's not. And you have a lot of kids that would say, you know what, with Dr. Nichols, I just want to kill myself because they argue all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and they say that if it wasn't for me, that they would leave each other. But if I die,
Yes.
they could just leave each other. I said, don't you ever put that much pressure on yourself because your parents are ignorant to that point. Don't
Yes.
ever do that.
Yes. Yes.
And I have to really, really then dig deep with these kids with these suicide ideations. So, and when I'm digging deep, the more that I'm digging, the more that I'm
Mm.
finding. And then when I call the parents off, call the parents out on their stuff, and you know what they say, the same thing that you said earlier. I mean, this is how my parents did it. I mean, this is all we
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I said, are you willing to learn different?
Hmm.
And when they say yes, that's when we began the family counseling and the family therapy. Because I'm telling you, if you say yes to me, I got you from that point on.
Yeah.
But if you say no, I'm still gonna have you one way or the other. Because at the end of the day, we need to start standing up for what is right, and
Yes.
we need to stop with these cliches. Where we just praying to God, naming and claiming. He healed right now in his mind. Hallelujah. No, we're not doing all that. You
Yeah.
can be healed over here by yourself.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. I have my family that's gonna support me, and my kids.
Yes.
And when you see your kids, it'll be a supervised visit because I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Mm.
It's over between us. We can co-parent, but we're not going to ever be together because
Yes.
the way that you made me feel all of those years, we can't turn back those hands of time.
Yeah.
And there'll always be some trauma.
Yeah.
Always. There
Yes.
will always be trauma there. No matter if you say, well, please forgive me or whatever. That's good. And some
Mm.
people go back and they say, well, we made it work. Did you make it work or did you want to make it work for the people?
Mm. Mm. That's good. That's good. This is a serious issue. This surpasses just the punching, the pushing, the kicking, the throwing to the walls, because 1 in 3 female murder victims is killed by an intimate partner.
Yep.
1 in 3. So, this thing it escalates. I often say it starts with the mouth. It starts with the verbal abuse. It starts with the putting down and always trying to, poor woman can't make a mistake to save her life without the man jumping on her and putting her down and this, that, and the other. And then it escalates and it continues to climb and climb and climb. And I want to say something to this here, because one of the things that I truly believe when I was a pastor, there was no way I was going to tell someone to stay in a relationship where they was getting beaten. And I've had this discussion with people, and well, the Bible only gives just cause for divorce when there is, when there's infidelity. And I'm saying, okay, I get what you're saying, but there's no way in God's green earth you're going to convince me
Nope.
that this God that you talk about, I talk about, that we all talk about, that is of love, of patience, that's full of wisdom, that's omniscient,
Mm-hmm.
that's omnipresent, and all of these things, these titles and all this, would stand by and say, yes, it's okay for her to stay in that relationship where she's been
Right.
beaten,
Right.
all while, that's a bunch of mess right there to me. And
It
I don't
is.
care. I don't care if it got on a robe or a collar. I'm telling you right now, it's
Mm-hmm.
not right. And I believe, and one of the things that I see, and I have witnessed this, is the woman can be in a position, in a place where they say, okay, I mustered up enough strength. I am going to disassociate myself. I'm going to get my kids and we're going to move on. And they'll make a decision to go and talk to the pastor. And if you're listening, we're not talking about all pastors. We're talking
Right.
about
Right. Right.
situations that's related to our experience and the
That's
things
right.
that we've seen. So don't get all sensitive on us. Okay. Don't get emotional. So, but the reality is they'll say, I'm going to go and talk to the pastor. And then the pastor, through some counsel that's definitely not holy, says, just stay. Now, what's really bad about this, I just said 1 in 3 female murder victims, they're killed by their intimate partner, whether it be a husband or a boyfriend. They're killed. In fact, 72% of all murder suicides are perpetrated by intimate partners. 72% of all murder suicides. That's when the man says, okay, if you know this, if I can't have you, nobody
Nobody
can.
else will.
And
Right.
so they'll kill the woman, kill the kids, and then they're coward out and they kill themselves.
Kill themselves.
And
Right.
so to top this off, 94% of all murder suicide victims are female.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care. Listen. Let me talk to some people out there that you've gone through this. You're going through this. You're experiencing this. You're hearing myself and Dr. Tracy Nichols tell you, if you're going through this right now, call 911. Get the police out there. If you've gone to talk to your pastor, your bishop, your apostle, master prophets, with all the different titles that they flaunt, if they're not doing anything to help you or put you in a safe position, call 911, go to the police, and separate yourself. In fact, you might want to find a new church with a pastor that truly loves you and that's going to have your back and going to see that you're in the best position possible. So I want to throw this out here because people need to understand that this is some serious stuff, and we can't hide behind, just forgive. You can forgive from a distance. One of the most powerful things you can do is forgive from a distance. And when you can do that, hey, I forgive you, but I've moved on. Forgiveness doesn't mean that I got to continue to tolerate what you're doing to me.
That's right.
So let's move on to this next question. I tell you, this is some good stuff. And we're gonna talk about this continue. This is not gonna be a one and done.
Right.
In fact, tomorrow night, y'all need to join me. I have Annette Perez gonna be joining me. She is a victim. And so we're talking about it as men. We're dialoguing, but we're going to have a female that went through this. She's going to be live with me, and we're going to talk about it. So part 2 tomorrow. And then Tracy and I, we're going to be going 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to talk about this because one of the things that my desire with this show is to talk about the things that talk about life issues, things that we deal with, things that we see. Doctor, I always said, and I'm all for going to church. I'm all for, being in a place of fellowship. I'm all for that. I believe if you find your good church, find your good church. But I want to go to a church where they can talk to me about the things I go through, where I can go in there and the pastor can talk to me about my struggles, my issues, what I went through, my anger, my disappointment, my failures, all of these different things. Don't just talk to me about the anointing. Don't just talk to me about giving. Don't just talk to me about prosperity. Talk to me about what I'm going through.
Real issues.
Yeah, real issues. And so that's our objective. Let's put this question out there. And what can we as a society do to rid the negative stigma that often follows the abused? And I think you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, that there's this negative stigma that follows the person that's abused as if the victim is at fault.
I would say that what we should be doing is telling them you're not alone, and literally mean you're not alone. Yes. And then begin to help them begin to heal from the inside out. Because see, a lot of people don't understand that just because it's a physical, you see the physical damage on the outside, yes, that's going to heal. But the next real damage is the mental damage that you do to a person, because now they're laying down thinking this person is going to come through the window at their parents' house, or this person is going to do this here, because every time they go somewhere, they're going to be looking around, because why? That person has gotten them to a point mentally, and that they have almost destroyed them. Now, I know that people have gone through things, and I get it, but there is still help. Yes. There is still help out there, but you have to want it. No one can make you take the help. Yes. You have to want it, and then you also have to acknowledge that you need the help.
Yes.
And that's another thing too. A lot of people, what you don't acknowledge, you can't fix.
Right.
If you don't acknowledge it, you would never be able to fix it. And if you keep making excuses on why you don't need the help, well, I'm good, I just moved on. No, you're really not. You're really not as good as you think that you are. You can actually be a whole lot better if you open up and say, you know what, this is my truth. This is what I went through. This is how long I stayed in here. I stayed for the kids. A lot of people say that they stay for the kids. I tell them, I said, don't stay for the kids. Kids are going to be grown and gone on their own eventually. Don't stay for the kids, because see, you staying for the kids, you're damaging the kids more than what you know.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything spectacular just because he comes in and be like, hey, what's up, little man? What's up, boo? What's up, princess? And then slap you after that. Let him go and be over here with little man, visitation. Let him be with his princess, visitation. Let him pay you child support. That's it. He don't need to visit you for nothing else at all. When you get ready to come, matter of fact, have someone escort, because you still need to be, cognitive of that. You still need to be cognitive of the person, how they put you through stuff. And I'm not
Yes.
saying hold grudges. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But what I am saying is be cautious
Mm-hmm.
and be mindful. Don't let people tell you to my oh, forgive and forget. As long as you got a mind, you'll never forget. You
Mm-hmm.
can forgive.
Yeah.
And for you to remember is for you not to be able to put yourself back in that position.
Yeah.
That's why
That's
you
good.
must remember.
Yeah.
You
That's
must remember what it felt like to go through the wall, or for him to punch you and slap you across the table, or to push. No, 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 no. We're not going to continue to sit by and say, well, well, my mama, she just prayed for my dad, and he still beat her until the day he died. So therefore, how did that prayer work? How
yeah.
about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah.
So therefore, you praying to God, and God already answered your prayer. You just not listening to the
Mm-hmm.
answer that He gave you.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people know when God already spoke and said, leave. It's like, no, that's the devil. No, that's God saying, I'm trying to save you. I don't want to see you yet.
Mm-hmm.
I still have work for you to do. But
Mm-hmm.
yet and still, you're sitting here, you putting this man up here, you're putting this woman up here,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not putting God here
Yeah. Yes.
for Him
Yes.
to elevate your mind to say, you know what, you deserve better than that. And
Mm-hmm.
no, you're my daughter, you're my son. No, you're not. You're not gonna be treated like this right here. This is not how I designed this here. I'm not telling you to stay. They're telling you to stay because they don't want the church to look bad. At
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, I'm telling you to leave so that you can save your life, because I have greater for you over here. But
Mm-hmm.
yet and still, you over here with less,
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting too content with it.
Yeah.
A lot of people get too content with staying inside of the mess because it's a bubble that they're in now. It's
Mm-hmm.
a cycle that they're in. It's a pattern. Every day you get up, you're scared to death. What is he gonna do, or what is she gonna
Mm-hmm.
do?
Yeah.
You're scared to death. Man, I hope that I can make it back home today because he have people following me. She have my car bugged or tapped or whatever. They find out every move that I make. They said I've been too long over there, or what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who wants to live
Not like
in
that.
that type of control? If someone got to control you to that point and you don't know how to control yourself, you need to be by yourself. It's okay to be single and saved.
Yes. And you said something, people all the time, I'm staying for the kids. Wouldn't it make more sense to leave for the kids
That
rather
would
than
be,
stay for the kids?
the the best thing that you can do is put your kids in a position where they're safe.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to leave that person in order for you to be safe, in order for the kids to be safe, that's how you're there for your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the reason why I say that, nationally, 50% of people that abuse their spouses or their mates also abuse their kids.
Yep. And I've seen that too, and
Mm-hmm.
I just really, because I'll call, protective service on you in a minute, especially when I
Yeah.
see stuff physically with my eyes. If you
Yeah.
walk up in here
Mm-hmm.
and, if a kid says, well, oh, it's okay, dad was mad at mom, and I mean, it's not bad, Dr. Nickel, just look, and I'm looking like, dude, listen, no, that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then, then when you talk with the husband and the mom, oh, he just being soft. I said, I literally said this to a guy. I said, so it's okay for you to hit your 12-year-old in the chest because you say you're trying to make him out of man, but you was mad at your wife at the time. So have you ever hit her? I mean, yeah, she gets it sometimes. I have to let her know too. Like, you're gonna respect me. And I'm like, I said, that's a coward move.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you literally know that that's a coward move for you to do that.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, you know what, man? I mean, if I didn't respect you, man, I hit you. I said, well, don't respect me. I said, because if you hit me, I'm gonna wear you out. I said, this is not your wife.
Yeah.
This is not your 12-year-old kid.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
This is not what you want, and I'm
Yeah.
telling you that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, sometimes when you check a brother like that and let him
Mm-hmm.
understand, listen, no, this is not what you want.
Yeah.
You better
Mm-hmm.
ask somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because see, what you're not gonna do is act like you're gonna intimidate me because see, I'm a man. There's a
Mm-hmm.
difference. You're not gonna approach me the way you approach your wife. You're not gonna approach me the way you approach your 12-year-old. See,
Yeah.
if you approach me like that, I slap the taste out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would say, now we're gonna sit down and talk like grown men, because what you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna intimidate me. That's
Mm-hmm.
what you won't do. So I had to check him and say, no, you lucky that you respect me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the lucky one.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah.
You are. And I had to check him on some things and let him understand, this is what you're doing and this is flat out wrong. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not going to report this because I am. Because this kid has bruises all up on him because you done punched him in his back and you done punched him in his chest and he's 12 years old.
Mm.
No. And they pulled the kid out the home or whatever. And
Mm.
the mom had no choice then but to say, you know what, I'm out because
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose my kids because you don't know how to keep your hands to yourself. And he was like, well, I'll go to counseling. Yeah, you do that. Now she was well enough to think for herself. She was like, you do that for
Mm.
you and for your kids, but I've had enough and I'm done. But it took Dr. Nichols to come in here and to call the people and to report you in order for us to get out of here because I didn't have enough courage to do it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but he did.
Yeah. You know,
That's what I mean by taking action
yeah.
instead of just all that talking that everybody be doing. That's what I mean by taking action. That's what we can do.
Yeah. And let me somebody, we're talking to victims, but there's somebody out there, some man that may watching this, may come across this at some point in time. You need to know this. When you get arrested for this, you go into the clink, prison, jail, wherever you're going, and you are PC'd up, which means you are put in protective custody. You're in the same position as pedophiles. You're in the same cell, the same day rooms, the same groups as people that molest kids, because the justice system knows that once you step in there, they're going to get you. Hitting and beating a woman is not smiled upon. It is frowned upon in the criminal justice system. So you need to know that. So you better think about that, because you're going to go in there and you're going to have to watch your back all day, every day. And I promise you, when somebody get a hold of you, people are going to rush to stop it. Okay. So that's just a little bit on the normal, natural side of life in the criminal justice system. Don't get yourself in that. And we're talking about kids being exposed to this. You said that people oftentimes will say, well, I'm staying for the kids. And I say, no, you should leave for the kids. Worldwide, men who are exposed to domestic violence as children are 3 to 4 more times likely to become abusers. So when I need you to understand, as victims out there, that if you're thinking about staying for the kids, as Dr. Nichols already alluded to, you are actually damaging your children. And you're telling that little girl that this is how a man loves a woman. And you're telling that little boy, this is how a man loves his woman. And that's not how it is, how it's supposed to go down. Let's jump on into this next question, Dr. Nichols, because we're on the phone, we go all night. Now, on this side of it, I want to throw this out here. What turns an individual into an abuser? And of course, we already said, what they've seen. What do you think is one of those?
I jotted something down. An abuser can choose to follow a cycle of dysfunctional behavior or choose different. People can stop receiving it too. Mm-hmm. So in other words, just because a person says, my dad did it, so this is why I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. But it's up to the person who's receiving the abuse to put it to the stop also, to put a stop to it also.
Yes.
In other words, you can say, you know what, I don't care about your mama being hit, you're not going to hit me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you do, it's on. Yeah. So if a woman calls the police the first time that happens, that shuts that down. Mm-hmm. Immediately.
Yes.
But if you don't call, and then you say, and then he'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to slap you that hard. Mm-hmm. Now you're trying to justify the stupidity.
Right.
Now you're trying to justify the stupidity on that. I think also that people, again, choose to become in that cycle again, constantly. And to me, it's a choice, not a force. No one can force you to be an abuser.
Yeah. Yes.
You can choose to be one or not. Yes. I came from an abusive household. My wife would tell you straight up, and my children would tell you straight up. My wife and I have never had no physical altercation ever in life. You know why? Yeah. I chose different.
Yes.
You can choose different. You can accept or reject. The choice is yours. You don't keep saying, and women, stop saying, he's all I got. Stop saying, this is the best I can do. Stop saying those things, because what you're doing, you're feeding that ignorance,
Enabling.
and it is enlarging, and it's not enlarging in a good way. It's enlarging in a negative way. Period. So stop saying or stop making excuses. Well, I was out a little late. You're a grown up. I'm not saying that you can't respect your spouse. You do need to respect your spouse. You're grown up. Well, I was out past 9 o'clock. What are we in high school now? Street lights? I mean, like
Yeah.
you left home to be grown, right?
Mhm.
So you're not going to tell me I got to be in before the street lights. I mean, if that's the case, I could stay at my parents' house, but I'm not. Grow up. Women, when you leave your parents' house, listen, this is what I always tell um, anybody who leaves their parents' house. All of the whippings that you didn't get from your parents, it's over after you walk across that threshold, because at the end of the day, nobody else gets to do that. Your
Yes.
parents spank you because why? They love you. You're grown up and someone beating you. Come on, that's not love. Now that's not love.
Yeah.
That's not love.
Hmm.
Now my what you call on 4%. But go ahead to the next question.
Yeah, go ahead. Listen, USA Today, they did an article. I read the article. It was very interesting. They did an article on what a week would look like without domestic violence in our society. And they said that if we went a week where no one, participated in this, that 487,500,000 women would not be subjected to domestic violence. Think about that.
Wow.
That number is alarming. And every 15 seconds in the United States, when somebody is being abused. And in fact, they said that the statistics show that women are losing their lives literally minutes. So, we're talking about this issue, and it's something that is very crucial. Now, Dr. Nichols, there's somebody right now watching this that's going to watch it, have been going through it, will experience domestic violence. Let's take a minute. Give me 1 minute. What would you say to that person right now that's being abused?
First of all, you need to get you some help. You literally need to get help, because at the end of the day, you do not deserve that whatsoever. And you also need to allow that person to get the help that they need. And guess what? That person is not going to change for you. They may change for someone else, but they have gotten too comfortable at this point. They're not going to change for you.
Yes.
And it's best for you to get out while you are alive and well to
Mhm.
be able to do so. I would
Yes.
say leave the situation before the situation leave you dead.
Yes, that's good. That's good. And I would want to just back that up and say, if you're going through this right now, get help. Get help. Reach out to someone. Disassociate yourself. Get you and your kids, move to a safe place. Here is a number if you're going through this, to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE. Once again, that number is 1-800-799-SAFE, 7233. If you're going through that, reach out. Don't be a victim when you don't have to be one. Make a choice to say, I'm going to do better for myself. I'm going to do better for my children. I'm not going to allow anyone to control my life, to abuse me, and make me feel less than who God created me to be. This is a choice that you have to make, and you have to stand tall and you have to stand strong. It's going to take a lot of courage for you to walk away from it. Set love aside, but put safety first. Put the safety of yourself, put the safety of your children before the so-called love that you have for someone that's not loving you back and not loving you right. So I want to say that if you're out there, I encourage you, do not remain silent about this issue. We're going to talk about this on Word of Encouragement some more. Tomorrow, we're going to be live once again on Facebook. We're going to be live on YouTube. And I have Annette Perez that's going to be coming through and talking. And she's going to share her experience. She's going to share some things that she's doing. She's doing a lot of great work with domestic violence based upon the things that she has experienced as well. So listen, if you're out there, share this video. Encourage people to watch this, because our objective, we don't want to be seen. Men, Dr. Nichols, we're good. We're good. We're seen by the right people. We're loved by the right
That's
people.
right.
So
That's
we're
right.
good with that aspect. But we're doing this because we truly want to see people get help. And we want to see people safe. I'm tired of seeing people lose their lives over foolishness and putting their kids in situations that they don't have to be in. So I'm encouraging you, please reach out, get the help you need, leave. The easiest number to remember is 911.
That's right.
911. And I want to say this here. I remember someone told me, you can't call the man, within the Black community. Hey, let me tell you this. I don't care if you're black, rainbow, yellow, pink, green. If somebody's abusing you, the easiest number
Call.
to remember is
That's right.
911. And they'll get there, and they come in force. Okay, so they're going to come and help you. So don't be a victim. I don't care what your color is. And to African Americans, to Black folk out there, stop buying into this mindset of don't call the man. If somebody's abusing you, your daughter, your sister, your mother, you better get somebody involved so they can help get the law involved. All right.
Right.
Dr.
Right.
Nichols, brother, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm so
You're
glad that
welcome.
we had this time to come together and talk about this. Like I
Amen.
said, we're gonna continue this here, and
Okay.
we're gonna schedule another, and we're gonna keep on touching and banging on this issue until we see some change, because it's definitely something that needs to be talked about. And for the pastors out there that's watching this, or church leaders, please put something in place to protect those that are going through abuse on any level. It doesn't matter if it's a woman or a child or even a man. Do something to put in place so that you can have a safe haven for them, so they feel they can come to you and get some wise counsel, not counsel that puts them back in harm's way, but counsel that removes them and puts them in a safe place so that they can be the person that God created them to be. And with that being said, Dr. Nichols, thank you so much. I know you probably got a busy day. You're working still. Are you still working from the house, or what are you doing? You still?
I'm doing both. I come to the office I come to the office sometimes, and then most of the times I do telemedicine online.
Yes. Hey, listen, Dr. Nichols also, he does some great mentorship right there in Atlanta, in Georgia. He works with at-risk youth. He's doing some wonderful things. He's mentoring them, and he's bringing them under his wing and loving on them and showing them the right path. So, Dr. Nichols, once again, thank you so much for
You're
joining me on
welcome.
Word of Encouragement this evening. And I hope you get you some rest and start all over again tomorrow. And for those of you that
Definitely.
viewed this show, thank you once again. Make sure you share it, like it, post it, do whatever you got to do, because we got to get this out there, because we're going to deal with domestic violence. Stand by tomorrow, 6 p.m., same time, Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be right here, and we're going to be talking about the second part of dealing with domestic violence with Annette Perez. So God bless you all. We love you here, and you guys have a good evening. Dr. Nichols, thank you once again.
You're
Be
welcome.
blessed, my brother. Love you, man.
All right. Love you too.